And we say greetings, this is Kabanka Pyramid representing the Lion Voice vlog. Make sure that them check it out and stay tuned. See? Rastafari blessings every time.
I said.
Well, front to us, a son was born and a child was given.
I want to ask you a question. Have you got your book? Haile Selassie I, Ethiopia, Volume 1, The Rise of the Priest Warrior King. I've read the book in its entirety, and I must say it's very inspirational, very informative, and very historical, right?
Them call him Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky. Them call him Rastafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. They call him Rastafari. The lion break the chain, beat not, don't cry. Them call him Rastafari. Read the Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Then born near the city of Harar, the inspiration for Bob Marley's guitar. People crowd him like some big superstar. It no matter if England.
Alright, so we're talking about the groundation of Kadamawi. First of all, let's talk about what is Groundation Day. This is what this is called within the Rastafari movement. It's basically the day Haile Selassie touched the ground in Jamaica, and it was a day a lot of things were revealed about the movement, about the strength of the movement, about the African presence in Jamaica, the love for Africa, the Pan-African vibration, because it wasn't just Rastafari that came out. The Maroons came down, the Abeng was blowing the ancient, bullhorn that the Maroon used to call into battle and these things. Throughout his visit, I was just reading an article in the Gleaner, they were talking about the Abeng was sounding throughout. So these things are significant. You had Jamaicans that were coming from country and town, all over. People walk all the way from Montego Bay, from all over. Our elders tell us these stories. People walk from country to come to the airport to see this manifestation. This was when the Rastafari movement was gaining steam in Jamaica. The Black Power movement was gaining steam in Jamaica. There was no red, gold and green fabric anywhere in the island. Everything sell off. Our elders saying all of the banners in the street, red, gold and green drapes. So you can imagine what Kingston looked like, the spiritual energy. These colors are radiating everywhere, the positive, the upful vibration that was there. Why this visit was significant, and I call this the divine ratification, because His Majesty with this visit to H.I.M, the Rastafari movement, and it symbolized the beginning of an era, a new era for Rastafari in Jamaica, and it was the end of a certain level of persecution that was, the pinnacle of that was the Coil Garden massacre. But it was a general state of persecution that was happening up until His Majesty visit. His Majesty visit opened a door that changed the dynamic of the Rastafari movement and that relationship. I'm not saying that abuse or abuses didn't continue to happen after, and as a matter of fact, when he left, a lot of men get beat up, broke up, jailhouse, nothing, because of how, the police weren't able to control the crowds while Haile Selassie was there. But it was also the first time that Rastafari were allowed in public spaces, in official state residence. This was the first time that Rastafari was permitted to step into these places. So by that account, again, it was a fulfillment of prophecy, in that the Lion of Judah came and broke the chain. And it was significant because, remember, the Rastafari used to get teased. Your God now come to Jamaica, a foolishness you attack. And then it was also later discovered that His Majesty was invited to Jamaica with the specific objective for him to come and denounce this movement, because the officials were seeing the growing impact of Rastafari at this time, and they wanted him to come and kind of quash it and make it null and void. The opposite happened. He came and caused an explosion of the movement, which blossomed into the 70s, which was a golden era for Rastafari in terms of culture in Jamaica, and which is evidenced by the music and the sound. Let us get forward to the intent of the government. So the government had called the Jamaica government through the British government, extended the invitation. His Majesty was to come. They were complaining about this uprising, and it was not in their favor when His Majesty came, because guess what? His Majesty did not denounce. In fact, His Majesty gave the leaders of the movement gold medallions, and this to I was an act of divine ratification. Again, Psalms 101, my eye shall be upon the faithful of the land, that they may dwell with I. And to I, that is what those medallions represented in terms of the prophecy. There were other significant, things, because remember that the Redeemer in the Christian church, I said He would come from the sky. There's analogies in the Bible about He rides on the wings of the wind. There's all of this analogies, and when we look at the visit of His Majesty, when the people from all over Jamaica country, town, everyone come together, and they were looking into the sky, guess what they saw? An airplane. So His Majesty did come from the sky, and the elders tell the tale about how they could see the lion on the side of the plane, and it was a mystic because the sky got dark, and then now while they were waiting, and He was delayed, His Majesty, let's before I get into that, I get excited too. And one of the things, when we were at the Nyabinghi House in Washington DC, every year at this time we used to sit at the elder foot. We used to have our ISIS, and then as the ISIS pause and we have time for reasoning, the elders them one by one would give their testimony as what they were doing to the day. Big up Brother Jack, an elder who has now passed. He said how, he was being pressed by the crowd into the bayonets of the soldiers them to keep him back, and OMC His Majesty car passing the corner, and His Majesty was waving, and he called out all of the names of the Almighty, 72 names of the Almighty to His Majesty, and His Majesty looked upon him and nod his head, and different testimonies we get. So big up Jack, Brother Jack, with the testimony. Ras Iris, we hear from Ras Pido when he was here, Mama Bubbles, so many elders, Irie Lion, when he was here with us. We've had Baba Ras Marcus. We were blessed to have so many elders that were here with us, ones like Bongo Chef and Bongo Tani passing through. So I can keep calling names, because like I said, we were able to hear, and I just want to keep up that tradition, because again, we can't be on a corner reasoning with the youth them and passing on this knowledge, and we're watching our elders them pass away from this earth. So enough of the youths them don't get this history. They may just go on YouTube or on the TV and they see some imagery, but they're not getting the richness of the eyewitness accounts that were there. So we have to keep this reasoning about Groundation Day alive. But the clouds got dark. The people were there at the airport waiting and waiting. His Majesty had first visited Trinidad, which went off without too much itches. I think the grandstand tumbled down at Trinidad, and certain other things happened. You can correct me in the comments on my Trinidad, because I do have ones in the Lion Pride in Trinidad, and there's a video on YouTube, His Majesty visits Trinidad. So that was also significant, but there wasn't the overwhelming presence. Rastafari came to Trinidad later in time than it did into Jamaica in terms of the movement. And then he made a brief stop in Barbados before. So they were waiting at the airport because, His Majesty was making these official state visits. And then now they look up to the sky and the clouds got dark. And then they saw the airplane burst through the clouds, and there's the ice money that a flock of white birds came and landed on the tarmac. Many ones talk about the flock of white birds that came, because they're all watching. If people know how Palisidos, they have the viewing gallery and thing, and people are watch. And The flock of white birds come now. And then them say them look up and them see the airplane burst through the clouds. And once the airplane burst through the clouds, then guess what happened?
Well, I am the generation of those that chose to seek the face of the great I Am. With the Emperor Haile Selassie I, King Rastafari of Ethiopia, well, he's the almighty creator, in flesh and in bone, and he's seated upon King David's throne. Well, I came to tell the nation on the microphone.
Yo, let them know righteousness is here to conquer. The Bingy King trample down those evilest monsters. Mussolini, he's getting burnt up like ganja. Our nation needs to get stronger. Give thanks, our locks is getting longer. The angel revealed the scriptures, the number 6, verse 5. My antenna channeling the heights of the Most High. Crown King of King, Lord of Lords. Now you do the math, Rastafari comfort. I and I with the staff. Children of Israel, make sure you step on the right path. It's the 21st century, the wicked out to feel the wrath of the Ancient of Days. Emperor Haile Selassie I, pure in all his ways. That's why I Kwasi and I praise the Naya Bingy King. Let the children know the salvation Naya Bingy bring. Yo, it's conscious hip-hop music, strictly for the king. For those who don't know, it's a Naya Bingy thing, head in the Aya.
Bingy King, Naya, Bingy King, Naya, Bingy King, with the scepter lightning. Aya, Bingy King, Aya, Bingy King, Aya, Bingy King, with the scepter lightning. Fire, Bingy King, fire, Bingy King, fire, Bingy King, earthquake lightning. Naya, Bingy King, Naya, Bingy King, Naya, Bingy King, with the scepter lightning.
Tell him about Selassie I. Terrible and dreadful, with a head full of sheep wool. Babylon, you better keep cool, cause he rules. Earth is just his footstool. You think you somebody, but you're only just his tool. Whirlpools, whirlwinds, blow away their sins. Instead of following the shepherd, they were following trends. We set the judgment, they killed too many innocent. Now they got to feel the wrath of the omnipotent, omniscient king with the scepter lightning. From the birds to the creeping things, all hail him. Selassie I, guide I and I, provide for I and I, live inside I and I, so we can't die. Must live eternal I, up in Mount Zion I, side by the Most High. Aya, Bingy King, King of all kings. Can't forget Queen Omega with the scepter lightning.
Naya, Bingy King, Naya, Bingy King, Naya, Bingy King, with the scepter lightning. Aya, Bingy King, Aya, Bingy King, Aya, Bingy King, with the scepter lightning. Selassie bring the judgment on my enemies. Remember we the Hebrew that you claim to be. The game that you play lame to we, cause you put me in shackles and chains, and that's plain to see. They ain't got no name for we. Haile Selassie I strike like hurricane rains off the sea. We still remember slavery, ain't too much change, things still seem the same to we. Black man, your brain ain't free, feels so much pain every time I try to watch TV.